Hi, my name is Sergio, and today we are going to review the process to create a lab in VLP. Now, creating a lab is pretty simple and quick, and VLP offers a lot of options to be able to customize the lab, options that we are going to review right now. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is to open the navigation panel right here. Then let's go to Lab Management, then Labs. Now let me close this one to get a bigger screen. As you can see, I already created some labs. Let's create a new one using the Create Lab button. Now these are the settings that we are going to review. The SQ is pretty much an identifier, a unique number or a unique name. I normally like to use something like this. Then under name is going to be the name of the lab. This is what the end user is going to see on the end user interface. So let's select Ubuntu 101 based on the template that we created on video number 1. Now let's select the deployment pool, also the one that was created when we created the template, Ubuntu 101 as well. Now something really important about the deployment pool, it is just a collection of one or more templates that contains all the primary metadata for the labs. So this can include the username, the passwords, also nodes, and also something really great about deployment pool is that you can use it for multiple labs at the same time. So this will allow for more efficient cloud consumption and also to reduce the administration effort with the templates management. All right. Then we have the valid period. This is just the time that the user has access to their labs. So it could be set to hours or also days. In this case, I'm going to be using just 1 hour. And then we have the time allotted right here. This one is a little bit different. It's the amount of time that the user gets to do the lab. So it's the time that they have to complete the lab. This is different than the valid period setting. So for example, if the user gets 30 hours, to do the lab within a 30-day period, the time limit in this case is going to be 30 hours setting. Then we have the manual, which is going to be like, it could be a Word document that you have and you can import to VLP with all the steps that the end user has to follow in order to complete the lab. So you can attach that one right here. Then you can use a short description for this one. Also, a thumbnail is going to be like an image that the end user is going to see. You can personalize that as well based on your lab. And then we have the catalog, which is in this case all labs, because I don't have any other catalog right now created. We are going to review that one in the video number 3. Something really important about catalogs is that you can separate the labs based on technology, for example. So you have some labs like this one, Ubuntu 101 is going to be talking about the operating system, right? So you can create a catalog about labs that talks about the operating system. You can have another catalog and you can put there the labs that are going to be about, I don't know, maybe applications or storage, for example, vSAN. That's going to be a different catalog, right? So these are the options that we have right here in Create. Now let's just add a manual right here. I already created one that is called Samba and MySQL. Let's use that one. Now we have everything. For description, we can put just, this is just a demo. Okay, then create lab. Now we have the option number 2, update settings right here. So we have general options. This first option right here, enable, will enable the lab or disable. It is unchecked. Public visible, that means that everyone can see the lab even if they are not logged in. So if they have access to VLP, they could take the training without any problem. So then this is a badge that we can add to the end user interface that is going to say that the lab is new. Then we have the end allotted time right here. This setting, if is enabled, once an end user ends the lab, then that user is never able to return to the lab again. If it is deselected, the end button in the end user UI is hidden. Now the exit allowed, if you have that one enabled and an end user exits the lab, then that user is able to come back at a later time. If it is deselected, the exit button in the end user UI is also hidden. Then we have the reset allowed. The reset allowed, if it is enabled, then the lab console includes a reset option. If a lab user resets a lab, then all its virtual machines, the VMs, are restored to their original state. So the lab user is not able to recover any work that has been done before, right? Then we have the remote control mode right here. If you disable that one, then the user control of the manual will require an admin accessible API call to advanced manual pages. We normally don't use in that one, so you don't have to worry about it. Then we have the option to show some notes, open notes on the lab star as well. Then this one right here is very important, the required grading. As you can see, there are some settings for this one. So if you enable the grading, you can use the entitlement list to enter the grading information and provide a means for the end users to review that information. If you do not enable the required grading option, then the Edit Settings tab displays that the time period for grading field. This field allows you to specify a time period during which the lab may be graded. So let's deselect that one because we are not going to be using that for this demonstration. Now this one, the time allotted override. What it does, if you are using the VMware Learning Platform API to enable a user for a lab, you can pass a time allotted. If you do pass a time allotted, then you will override the time allotted value in the lab configuration page. Then we have the information about the callbacks options right here. This is only for the callbacks. So you want to set up some callbacks to the lab. So you will get, for example, some emails every time that the customer or the end user enrolls to the lab. So if the end user, for example, enrolls and you have a callback to get that information, a return email, you will get the information about that user. Then we have the completion options right here. This one, the minimum time spent for the lab to be completed is just the time that you would like to set up right here in days or hours for the end user to consider that the lab has been completed, right? Or you can also select the option about the percentage. So if you say, for example, 10% that's enough for you to consider this lab is going to be completed, then the end user doesn't have to go through the whole lab at all, only the 10%, and that's it. So let's change this one to 0. So we're not going to be using that one. Then we have seen these other options, the Prepop enable, for example. If it is enabled, deploys one or more pre-populated instances of the VApp to the cloud ahead of a user request. So when a user chooses the lab, the user is then linked to a Prepop. This process reduces the amount of time a user needs to wait for a lab to be built by VLP. However, be aware that the Prepop uses cloud resources that could incur cost to your organization. So this is something pretty important to have in mind, right? Then we have the VApp exit power off. If enabled when an end user exits the lab, the system powers down the VApp. If it is not enabled, the VApp remains powered on. Then it is going to be using cloud resources, right, after the user exits. Then the VApp exit attempt shutdown. If enabled, each virtual machine within the VApp attempts to shut down gracefully before powering off. You must also enable the VApp exit power off in order for this option to work. Then we have the undeploy after right here. If you enter a value more than 0, then the tenant allows automatic undeployment of an inactive lab in the cloud. Then we have the concurrent user limits, which is pretty much the number of concurrent users that can start this lab. we are not going to be changing anything on that. So let's just leave everything as default. And let's hit next. Now we have the update content. This is just a short description. Also, more information if you want to add something else. Then the network topology. This is pretty much the option to add the screenshots or some images. For example, if you have a network topology that you would like to add to the end user interface, so the customer or the end user is going to be able to see what the network is going to look like for your template, right? Also, you can add a survey. You can add some screenshots as well. You can add badges, for example, saying that the lab is for beginners or for advanced users. You can also select the option of products right here. So the labs are often categorized by products. So for example, a lab could be about the VMware product horizon. So you can use another one for a BISM or Bitfair. You can also have tags. You can also put the name or the information about the authors of the lab and related labs also. Let's hit next. And now this is information about the virtual machine metadata. So in this case, as you can see, we only have one virtual machine, but remember the other template that we created with different virtual machines, you can have more than one. So you can set one of the virtual machine as your initial console right here. In this case, since we only have one, we are going to use the one from the deployment pool, right? But you can set this one right here. So let's say that we have more than one. You can say that this one is going to be the initial console. So this is going to be the server that is going to power up first for the end user. Then we have some options right here for visible. Use these values you want or just the deployment pool. Power on the VM when the lab starts. Allow the console to resize. The automatic console resize as well. You can put a username and password for the virtual machine, and you can also add some notes. So we're going to be leaving everything by default using the deployment pool value. And let's hit the finish button, and we should get the lab created pretty quick. Now, as you can see, I'm getting a warning right here that says something about this lab has no initial console chosen. So I guess that I selected that one. Let's use this one. Initial console, update, the lab has been updated, close. And there we go. We have the lab created now. We have a quick launch option right here to open the lab. We can also use this column right here. We would like to add more information, so let's just select all of them. So now we have the SQ, warnings right here, the name, also the short description, also the quick launch, if it is enabled or not, public, visible or not. This one says that is a new lab. All this information is right here. As you can see, the Prepop enable, catalogs as well, the labs and the VMs that we have on this one. Also the information about the manual. I added the same manual just to not get any error messages about missing manual on this one or something like that. So what we just learned in this video, we learned how to create a lab and how to add some customization to our lab to create a better end user experience. And at the same time, we cover some tips that will help you to manage your cloud resources as well. Okay, so on video number 3, we are going to talk about the lab management features like catalogs, budgets, and network topologies. Thank you for watching. Take care.